Hi, this is Andrej, Panigale V4S. I could go on and on about how amazing this motorcycle is, and you might have already seen my other reviews of the Panigale V4S, because this is actually the third edition of this spectacular machine. But let me start with something different. I think I love Johann Zarco with a kind of manly affection, maybe even a feminine one. What a cool guy he is. First of all, he came here with his girlfriend by car. He just drives an ordinary Peugeot. He puts on and takes off his own tire warmers. And when he rides a motorcycle, it's not just a different riding style. He actually uses the motorcycle in a completely different way. I thought, because I asked him, he's a really nice guy, Johann, could you do a session with me? He said, sure, no problem. So I went out, he led me, then let me go ahead so I could ride, and then he would overtake me on the brakes just to show me where and how I could brake. And it was just likened that he was braking hard or anything. He would just glide into the corner. Of course, video can't really capture it, but the feeling when Johann Zarco overtakes you right at your elbow with that spectacular little slide, you know, it's not some flashy move just to show off, like we journalists sometimes do. It's just the way he goes into it. That was a prelude to the fact that Ducati has built a motorcycle for Johann Zarco, Jorge Martin, Pecco Bagnaia, Jack Miller, and other seasoned pros like them. Because everything you can, well, the way this motorcycle is shown by the lap times these guys achieve on these machines. With this motorcycle, just as it stands here, completely stock Panigale, not even with an aftermarket exhaust, so only 215 horsepower. Zarco says that when he rode this motorcycle, the torque was actually pretty good, since it has 100 more cubic centimeters than a MotoGP bike, so the torque is actually pretty decent. There's not too much power, but it's fun to ride because you can really feel the front end. And I could use the same lines as in MotoGP, but again, there's not much power. 215 horsepower for Johann Zarco and those other guys, that's basically no power at all. For us, that power is enough. But anyway, the motorcycle with the stock exhaust has exactly 215 horsepower, not 228 like it does with the racing exhaust system. On SC1 compound tires, Jorge Martin did a 143.0 lap in Jerez. Zarco did a 143.5. Pecco Bagnaia recently did a 135 at Misano, and not even on this model, but on the previous one. A 135 at Misano means that Pecco could fight for a podium in the World Superbike Championship on a stock motorcycle. I mean, that one was good. It had fairings and things like that. But this motorcycle today, with headlights and everything, did a 143.0 when the track record is 6 seconds faster. Yeah, over there it's like 137, something like that. And when the guys started looking for lap times from races, for example, when Superbikes were using SC1 tires to compare, the race times back then were 141.9. 1.1 seconds, 1.2 seconds. World Superbike Championship and the stock motorcycle. And here a certain problem arises, because it's been known for a long time that we ordinary mortals are simply not able to fully utilize this motorcycle. And today, this was further exposed by the new display, the new electronics. So, step by step, Ducati noticed this problem that people get on the V4. Besides, you could see it in me many times, like, oh, awesome. What's going on here? Your hands are shaking, but the lap times just weren't coming. So now, with this model, a lot of effort has gone into making the motorcycle, well, it's hard to say milder, but so that it's easier to manage, and okay, so that it's also a bit milder. So the engine, despite some small changes, I'll write about those in the magazine, is a little bit more powerful, I think by about 1.5 horsepower, but it has completely new electronics and a totally different system. Completely new software for managing this engine. And what I can illustrate is that, for example, just speaking personally, I have a 959, and the Panigale V2 has the same engine. The Panigale 5.2 and the 959 have the same engine, but different engine management system. It's a world of difference when I switch from one motorcycle to the other. And in this bike, it's not a chasm, but compared to the previous model, it is. But today, with this motorcycle, I was finally able to open the throttle and it didn't get spooked. It didn't buck, it just went very, 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 very fast. I had the impression that this motorcycle's character has become very similar to the Panigale V4R. The Panigale V4R, because it has a bit less torque due to its 1000cc engine, needs to be revved higher. Because of that, it's actually easier to ride since you don't get that brutal hit of torque. And now, Pay attention. They've added new engine management modes, basically new engine maps. So now we have a low mode, which gives you 150 horsepower. And you know what? This morning, when it was still cold, we were riding on the road Super Corsa SP tires. I switched on that mode, and you know what? The bike wasn't slow because it still had 150 horsepower and the torque stayed at the same level. That's about 124 Newton meters. And with this bike, I was still able to ride really fast, even in these cold conditions. My whole body hurt, but I'll explain why in a moment. Riding in this mode was actually really enjoyable for me. I was still overtaking people on the straight and they would pull away from me, but later on I was still able to overtake them. All right, next we have the medium and high modes. Now, both medium and high manage the torque separately for each gear. That is first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. We have different maps, different torque curves for medium and high. And there's also a full mode where you get the full power. And what's best, only MotoGP riders use this mode today because there was no point otherwise. Alessandro Baglia, a test rider, a very fast guy on Ducati who was riding here, did a 1 minute 45 lap. He was riding the whole time in high mode, just full power. On this track, it just doesn't make sense. He said that on Mugello, okay, right? You can use it there, but here it just didn't make sense. The medium and high modes with other torque maps worked brilliantly. And indeed, the bike was finally going. It wasn't getting unsettled so much anymore. It was running smoothly. You could manage it brilliantly, but it exposed a certain incompetence of mine. The thing is, there's also a new display. At the top, there's a tachometer. And here we have the electronic settings, display traction control, wheelie control, Ducati slide control, engine brake control. We can change them while riding. But what's most important is that now, when the system starts working on the track during a ride, the little square, let's call it, that starts blinking in different colors. Meaning traction control is yellow, wheelie control is blue, and slide control is green. And they light up so that we know when each system starts to work, so that we can, basically we look and see, oh, wheelie control is kicking in here. So we can experiment a bit, all right? So I'll try to put more weight on the front, because when wheelie control kicks in, it reduces the power a bit. So we accelerate less effectively, or we know when traction control is working, but when is it traction control and when does slide control start to work? And this is where my lack of skill comes in, because today I was really twisting the throttle all the way, and I never once saw the slide control light up. Giulio says that it comes on at around 10 degrees of lean. Well, 10 degrees of lean while fully committed on a Panigale V4S with the throttle wide open. I guess I'm just not mentally ready for that yet. Or maybe I'm just not mentally ready for it anymore. Maybe I'm too old because that's just full on sideways riding. Of course, I was a bit short on sessions because the engineer noticed that I could set it to level 1 and the traction control to level 1 as well, and that it would probably be easier for me to use the slide control then. But I didn't feel the need for the bike to slide more because I was riding, Alessandro tells me, full lean angle and throttle, full throttle. Not in a rough way, but to open it progressively, yet quickly, and full throttle, and it will start to slide. I could feel the rear starting to slide out, but it wasn't enough for the system to say that something was wrong or that it needed to intervene. Seriously, someone tell me that electronics aren't exciting when you're just flying through Jerez. I mean, okay, anywhere really. In Poznan, you can be leaned over as far as possible on the bike, suddenly go full throttle, and you feel it starting to slide out, and you're aware that you could open the throttle even faster because it could slide out even more and the electronics would guide you through it. This is a realm of sensations that we normally have no chance of getting close to. And here, you can just do it with a bike straight out of the box. Jorge Martin said that the most important thing when riding this bike is that when you brake, as soon as you release the brake, you go full throttle, immediately open it all the way. And that's when it's best. And that's when it works well. And I believe it works. You just have to unlock something in your mind to ride the bike that way. This spectacularly fast, beautiful, brilliantly sounding motorcycle, which also has a few changes, like a new fork, so you can feel the front even better. And what's also interesting and cool is the ABS. MotoGP riders used to ride with ABS, and they often even train on bikes with ABS, because this ABS, even if it's only on the front and set to level 1, still has the cornering function. So basically, you dive into a corner, lean in, grab the brake, and the bike won't slide out from under you. I mean, in theory, but also in practice. You can just feel it. When you really start to feel it, you know it's kicking in. Once, as I was entering a corner hard, I suddenly felt it activate, and all you have to do is squeeze the brake and it regains traction and keeps going. It's shocking. Unbelievable. There are also some technical differences, but honestly, you know what? I'll describe it calmly in the magazine because there's still a line and the light is fading. It's really nice to dream. It's really nice to dream about a motorcycle. It's also really nice to dream that one day you'll ride like Johann Zarco and Jorge Martin, but you'll never ride like that. There's no chance. But you can dream. And when you meet riders at that level and watch how they're able to ride a stock motorcycle, it's just unbelievable what level they reach. And I know that these motorcycles will keep evolving because I've already brought up this topic here. And what about artificial intelligence in motorcycles? Something so that settings wouldn't even be necessary anymore, so that the motorcycle would know exactly what your riding style is and would know how well you can ride. It will learn from you and start sliding sideways together with you. You just get along perfectly. Hey, today we're going for some serious slides. Come on now, let's do this right. And the lap time already shows you the sections, those sectors. Nice here, a complete motorcycle. You just take this motorcycle for a lot of money. Even the exhaust, I think the foot pegs could actually be a little higher, but that can be changed. It's not as expensive as the exhaust. And that exhaust, if you put an exhaust on here, it must be insane. But honestly, at the beginning, you really don't need to do that at all. Unfortunately, it's still expensive. And I can't imagine how I'd feel if I crashed this motorcycle. All right, so next time, Ducati, thank you. Bye.